The follow-up finally did come a year later. And a year later, we had gathered the information from this person who was very scared about coming forward. Nonetheless, this person said, I've had nightmares ever since for a full year. This person has met with a forensic artist, a sketch artist. This person has given information, and this person we thought was going to help us find answers. However, we have no idea what happened after this person gave the description and pictures were drawn. Why? Because, as the family has heard many, many times before, we cannot speak to you. This is an open investigation. And so we come to February of 2024. By the way, in speaking with Riaz, Lina's father, he let me know that that was the last time that SAPD had spoken to him, in February of 2024. So we were at a meeting with SAPD and FBI agents February 14th of 2024. It was a very heated discussion. It was a discussion that spoke about the lack of communication, and mostly it was a discussion led by the dad who said, I want my daughter. I need you to find my daughter. So the meeting went forward, and we did clear up some misconceptions, one of them being that every apartment was searched. That was proven not to be true. Most of the Afghanis, all of the Afghanis' apartments were searched. Most Americans know if you don't have a warrant, you cannot come into my home. Later on that evening, we had found out that a Bexar County inmate was leading law enforcement officials into a greenway, the green belt, behind some apartments just down the road from here on Gardendale. And we knew that not because SAPD said anything. We knew that because a podcaster, a social media influencer, came and said, hey, Pam, I think you need to know something. That next morning, it was media who texted me and said, are you aware that they're digging? Moments later, because I was with Riaz that next morning, he finally did get a text. Hey, you may want to come here. The person who led them to this place was a person who was on the U.S. Marshal's Most Wanted list in 2019. This person was incarcerated because he was not able to stay within the guidelines of his probation. This person, what we have gathered and what we have been told, also lived at the same apartment complex as Lina's family. Yet this person did not have his apartment searched. So all this time later, remember, she disappeared in 2021, December 20th, and here we are in February of 2024, and law enforcement is being led by a man who was on the U.S. Marshal's Most Wanted list. Why? For trafficking. All of this we later came to find out, not through SAPD, because SAPD did not even want to tell us what they were doing there. We had to ask several questions in several different ways to get them to finally admit that they were searching for Lina in the back of the apartment complex. So those are some of the details that haven't been given out, but that Dad has had a few questions. Well, what happened? Did you go and search his apartment? Were there any DNA tests done? One of the things that we did find out is that the wife of this person came to that social media individual and said, yeah, there were some things that happened that day that didn't seem right. However, none of this that we know of has been investigated by SAPD. So one of the things and one of the frustrations that Riaz has had has been that there's not enough communication from SAPD, that there are no more leads about his daughter's disappearance. And when he sees some of these details that come out on media about Project Lightning Bug and agencies working together, it makes him wonder, why weren't they willing to work with other agencies when it came to my daughter? Why wasn't this given also the time and effort that is now taking place? So in December of 2024, I was honored to meet with the family of Jason Landry, baby Gabriel, and Patty Vaughn. It was a meeting that had so much depth, because all of these families understood what it was like to have a loved one disappear. And they've waited such a long time for answers. We had such a memorable discussion. And together, myself and these families were able to write an article, to write a detail about some of the things that they've gone through. And together we constructed this list, and Mr. Landry helped put it all together and called it Bill of Rights for Families of the Missing. We had sent this document to a few lawmakers, and we were hoping that this Bill of Rights for missing families would have at least been introduced. However, we were unable to find a champion for that bill. I'm hoping that next legislative session will be able to put forward this Bill of Rights for families of the missing. You know, so many of the team members that have stood with Riaz, and Riaz himself has received so much bullying. We've seen so much negativity. We've seen so many things that have been said about his character, about the character of his wife, and yet even those around him have gone through this. I've had my own family followed and harassed, but I can tell you this, that it's a minor inconvenience compared to what this man is going through. Every night when I go to bed, I know my children have their heads on their pillow. And every night when he goes to bed, he doesn't. So we'll continue to ask questions. We're continuing to seek help. We've already met with another agency that we're hoping that will give us some help and guidance. And I will leave you with this last thing. Whenever Riaz watches TV and sees some of these perpetrators being apprehended and sees the operations like Operation Lightning Bug, he'll call me and say, "Do you think they asked them about Lina?" He needs answers, and we're hoping that one day he'll get them soon. I'd like to go ahead and bring you to Riaz.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
In the name of God.
My name is Lina Sardar Khil, the Lina Sardar Khil plarium.
My name is Riaz Sardar Khil. I'm the father of Lina Sardar Khil.
درې ولاس میاشتې کېږي چې لینا له کور څخه بېدرکه شوې ده، تر اوسه پورې هېڅ معلومات نه کېږي.
It has been 3 years since Lina's disappearance, and we have not known any whereabouts of her.
د درې لاس میاشتو کې FBI پولیس هغه څوک چې د ماشومانو د اختطاف وظیفې په غاړه لري چې هغه باید پیدا کړي، دوی هیڅ کله نه دي غوښتي چې مو ته راشي. مګر زه پسې ورغلی یم، پوښتنه مې د خپلې لور کړې ده، په بار بار مې کړې ده، مګر دوی تر اوسه پورې مو ته کوم ځواب نه دی راکړی.
those agencies that are responsible for investigating the matter, like FBI, ACPD, and other agencies involved in this process, they have never tried to reach out to me. I've been the one actually always trying to get in touch with them and get information or updates, but they have never tried to reach out to me.
ځینې هغه چې دي سیستمات چې په شخصي لګښت کیږي هغه چې زه په شخصي لګښت کوم مګر دوی په خپلو دفترو کې د هغې دپورې دولت ورکړلی دي چې تاسو باید د دې سیستم له لارې کور وخورئ تر څو دا ماشومان پیدا کړئ یا هغه څه څوک چې اختلاف شوي دا پیدا کړئ مګر دوی هغه نه استعمالوي ما یې بار بار ډېره غوښتنه کړې ده.
Some of the resources that they have for their investigation to proceed with, they have not used to the full extent. There are some private investigators that can do much better if they get paid. So we are asking them to proceed and use all the resources to the full extent.
راتلونکي څو اونیو کې یا راتلونکي میاشت کې مونږ په یوه نوې پروژه کور کړو چې په هغه کې به انشاءالله ډېر څه لوست هم وشي نو مونږ خدای نه دا امید لرو چې په هغې لارې مونږ وکولی شو چې لینا پیدا کړو.
We are actually starting a new project for the investigation that privately, and hopefully we will get more updates and more information and that will lead us to bring Lina back home.
همدا سیستم چې زه یې په پیسو خپلم په پیسو دا کور پکم مګر دا پولیس بی آی هر ارګان چې دی دلته چې کور کي دوی ټول په دغه سیستم په خپلو دفترو کې لري یوازې نمایش په دې پورې ایښودل شوي دي د کور دپاره نه چې کور پوکړی شي.
This is the system that we are actually paying for it through a private source and they will be leading the investigation. FBI, ACPD, they have those resources and those equipments to use for the investigations, but they have not tried to use it.
نو اخري خبر مې دا وي چې وی آی ټولو او کارمندونو یا پولیسو چې په د ماشومانو په اختطاف کې کور کې هغوی باید مو ته معلومات وکړي تر اوسه پورې ځکه مو ته هېڅ معلومات نه دي راکړي او بل دا چې هېڅکله دوی ما زنګ پسې کړی دی ما میسیج پسې کړی دی چې مو ته د لینا په اړه معلومات راکوي یا په پلاني ځای کې ماشومان پیدا شوي دي دې ځای کې پوښتنه وکړه کیدای شي لینا دلته موجوده وي په دې ماشومانو کې خو دوی معلومات نه دي راکړي.
The units that are responsible for investigating the child abduction matters, that includes Lina too, and the ACPD and FBI. I request them to please reach out whenever you guys have any updates, and we multiple time request them to reach out, but they have not reached out, and we request them again to reach and communicate with us fairly.
په لومړیو وختونو کې مې د کیس منیجر چې و د کیس چې کوم کیس نه دی کور کې ورته د لینا هغه مو غوښتنه مې وکړه چې دغه ورته چینج کړي خو دوی چینج نه کړو بلې په یوازې بلې مو ته راډ کړو چې دا به د دې سره څنګه کار کوي نوی کس مګر هغه کله چې بل اډ کړو نو هغه کوم کمیونیکیشن یا موږ سره چې روشهدار شه یا خبرې کړلې هغه هم بیخي صفر څه ضرب شو لکه بیخي قطع کړلې موږ سره بیا خبرې ونه کړې.
The last time we met we had requested the lead detective or investigator to be swapped out with another detective so that investigation can go better, but they not only replaced but they just added one more person to the investigation, and since that there has been zero communication with us.
نو دا هغه څه دي چې درې کولو لسو میاشتو کې مو سره وشول او مو زړه یې ډېر خفه کړی دی د کورو ځکه پولیس هېڅکله خپله وظیفه په سمه توګه نه ده اجرا کړې.
These are all the things that's been happening for the past 3 years and 10 months, and it has greatly disappointed me in ACPD and other agencies.
زه د دولت نه د پولیسو بی آی د خلکو نه هېڅ نه غواړم یوازې مې د لور پیدا کول غواړم.
I have nothing to ask for, but the only request I have from ACPD, FBI, and other agencies to recover my Lina.
او د ټولو خلکو ټولو کمیونټیو نه مې غوښتنه همدا ده چې د لینا دپاره دعا وکړي چې په خیر خدای پیدا کړي.
And at the end, I ask all the communities in San Antonio, please pray for my Lina, and hopefully she'll be recovered.
Thank you so much.
Manana, thank you.
One thing I hope that you all remember about this gentleman is that he served our U.S. Armed Forces when we occupied their country. And I'm very proud of the way that he's conducted himself through the midst of this tragedy. We will take any questions that you may have right now. If not, then we'll go ahead and conclude. Yes, ma'am.
What's the last update you guys have received on Lina's case?
The last update was in February of 2024. That's when the digging started, February 15th, and we only had contact with law enforcement officials during that time. When it concluded, they just said, we found nothing. And that was that.
Do you know what happened to the inmate that was saved?
We do not know. We were hoping that his apartment and his shed specifically the shed that is within that apartment, that might have been checked and there may have been DNA extracted. We were hoping that would have happened, but we have heard nothing since then. And the information that we've recovered has come to us not from SAPD, but from different sources that we have. And I'm going to tell you, it's been the media who has kept him updated. When the divers went shortly after Lina disappeared, when they were in that small pool of water digging or searching for any evidence, one of the things that was asked by the media to law enforcement was, do the parents know that they're searching? And they said yes. I was in that audience and I knew for a fact that he didn't know. So my next action was to call him and the translator and run to his home so that I could get him and so that they can come. So there's a lot of miscommunication, if any communication at all. So that's the last February of 2024. And typically it's dad asking so many questions. They've been very alone throughout this situation.
Why do you believe that there is a lack of communication?
I am not quite certain. Does it have to do with his culture? Does it have to do that he's not from this country and doesn't understand that he could apply pressure? I think that those are some of the factors. If this was an American family, you know that mama would be banging on doors. I feel like an American mama would be that way, especially a Hispanic American mama. And so I just don't understand. Well, I do see that there's just this very nonchalant response to them, to the Afghani people, and that's been troubling. So it's a great question. I wish that we had some answers about that.
Do you believe that there is like a lack of interest from law enforcement in the case?
Absolutely, yes, I do believe that. And again, one of the points that we were very, very quick to point out is that this man served our country, and would there be a better response for him concerning his daughter's disappearance? We were hoping that it would have been, that would have been a factor, and said, you know what, yeah, because of all that he went through for our country. But the lack of communication, the fact that he still is nowhere closer to finding out where his daughter is, that's disappointing.
You mentioned the involvement of podcasters, and has there been nationwide interest in this case as well?
Nationwide, there's been BBC, there's a CBS Never Seen Again. That's a documentary. They did a 2-part documentary on Lina's disappearance on Never Seen Again. That was a very moving segment. And not only that, but information came forward that where a young man described her being led off. That was a great documentary, BBC. And there was a segment from the Middle East that came out about Lina that featured what was going on here in San Antonio.
Any messages to the public, if not law enforcement themselves?
You know, I would hate for them to lose hope, because his continual hope, and I've sat with him and his wife, And I understand the cultural differences. I've been an advocate for refugees ever since I lived in Europe. I understand all of that. I've sat with them. And they continue to have hope. I've heard Riaz talk about his sons growing up to be part of law enforcement or the judicial system so they could make changes. It's triggered something within him to become very passionate about this. The one thing that I don't want to see them lose is hope, because they've held on to their faith and their hope throughout all of this ordeal. And as an American mama, I get frustrated seeing them go through this. And he's the same age as my youngest son, and so this is something that through the years we've created quite a bond between our families, and so it's hard for me to see them go through this. And I always, in the back of my mind, I asked myself that question: if they were Americans, born and bred, would they still be going through this? And that's a question they ask themselves too. Anything else? We want to thank you all so much for being here. It's because of you that her story continues. It's because of you that we're able to get sometimes questions answered. And we appreciate that from all of you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to? Yes. Tell them who you are.
Hello, my name is Zinjan. I am the president or chairman of the Afghan community here in San Antonio. Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you Pamela. Today marks another painful chapter in our life, a reminder that our beloved Lina Sardar Khil is still missing. Lina was just 3 years old when she disappeared from a playground in San Antonio on December 2021. It has now been almost 4 years and we are still without answer. Lina is not forgotten. She is daughter, a sister, and a child of this community. Every day without her is filled with grief, but also with hope. The hope that someone somewhere know something and will come forward. We are asking that public, please, if you know anything, no matter how small, contact the San Antonio Police Department or the FBI. Your information could be the key to bring her home. We also ask the media to continue sharing Lina's story. Awareness keep her name alive and help keep the pressure on those who may be hiding the truth. To the community, thank you for your love, your support, and your prayers. Your compassion has helped keep us going. Please don't stop speaking her name. Please don't stop looking. We believe Lina is out there and we won't give up until she is found. Thank you so much. Thank you.